Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today what I want to show you are what we call a bail. It's kind of the way we finish off a pendant. So the bail is basically the loop at the top of the pendant that you put the necklace, chain or rope or whatever it is that you're using through. So I've got 3 different bails to show you today. Obviously there are loads of different ways that you can finish your necklace, but these are 3 kind of nice simple ones that look really effective. So what I'm going to do is actually show you the 3 finished ones that are actually on a pendant, and then I'm just going to show you how to do the actual bail. So what we're going to need today is I've got different coloured wires, so I'm going to choose different colours, but the gauges that you want are, it depends really on what you make your pendant out of, but what I generally use is a 20 gauge wire for the main kind of base of it, and then I use a 26 gauge wire to then wrap around. So I've got copper and I've got antique bronze and I've got silver, so I'm going to show you 3 bails in those 3 different colours just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And then we're going to need probably the needle nose pliers, some cutters to cut your wire, although the needle nose pliers do have a cutting section on it, and possibly my flat ones to do a little bit of squashing down, but we might not need those. We'll see what happens as we go along. So to start off with, we have a weave that is kind of like a figure of 8, and it ends up making a really pretty kind of bail at the top like this. And you start by going quite thin out and back in again to create that kind of shape. I can show you, you can do it in various thicknesses as well. So these 3 I've done all in silver, and I've done that kind of bail on each of these, and they're all different sizes but equally as effective. So I'll show you that one. Then there's one where we use the a weave that I've used before, which is kind of 2 around the main bit, and then you just wrap around the bottom, so that creates a really pretty effect there on that one. That one's using antique bronze. And then there's another one here where you literally just wrap it all the way around your wire and finish it off, and it just looks really nice. So those are 3 different ways that you can do this, and I'm going to show you how to do each one. So the first one we're going to do, I'm going to do in, I think I'll do it in antique bronze. And that's the figure of 8 one that I showed you, where you can vary the size of it, but it just depends on what you want to do. Now, obviously, I'm not actually wrapping this around a stone. I'm just showing you how to actually do the finishing part at the top. But obviously, you'll already have your stone wrapped and all ready to go with your wires coming out, and you decide kind of which bail you want to use as you go. So I'm going to start off with a little length, cutting off a little length of wire. Because I'm just showing you what to do, I don't really need to worry about measuring it at all. This is my antique bronze wire, which I think is rather pretty. I do make quite a few things out of antique bronze. And then we need 26 gauge to do the wrapping. So I will undo this. And I'll show you where to start. So imagine that obviously these pieces of wire here have a pendant attached to them, and we want to finish off with this figure of 8 kind of bail. So we have to start off with a little V shape, and we're going to wrap twice around one side, and then we're going to come over and we're going to wrap twice around the other side. And as we go, we're just going to try and keep it nice and tight. And I've already got this V shape where it's tapering out a bit. So I'm just going to follow that for now, just by wrapping twice around one side and twice around the other. You can see that pattern starting to develop there. Creates a really nice weave, this one. And we'll just keep going until we get to what length. So you can keep going with this. If you want quite a nice long bail, you can continue as far as you like. I'm going to do a fairly small one for a smaller pendant. So I don't need to go too high up, but what we start to do is as we go up, we then have to start tapering it back in again. So I'll show you how to do that as we go along. So sometimes I lose track and I do too many curls around, but no, 2 on either side. And is that 2? So I've just done it again. There we go. 2 on either side. And as you can see, we're starting to get this V shape, filling in our V shape. So I want to get to a certain point a little bit wider, and then I want to start tapering it back in again, because it's at that point where it's its widest that you want to curl it over. So I'll continue for a little while, and then we want to start tapering it back in again. So this one's slightly wider than previous ones that I've made, but you can make it as wide or as thin as you like, just depending on what you're making. Now that's almost at the right length for me, I think, to then start pulling it back in again and tapering it back. So you want to start pulling on the wire a little bit more to kind of start bringing it back in on itself. So I'm just gently pulling on the wire as I twist to try and bring it back, taper it back in on itself. Just keep stopping for a minute and just seeing how you're going, because you can see how that's starting to taper back in. You don't want to taper it back in too quickly because you want it to be fairly even. So keep gently pulling, starting to taper back in there, looking really nice. See how we're slowly making it thinner again. So that's exactly what we want. I'm using my fingers as well to push it down because I want it to be nice and tight, so we don't have lots of gaps, and it just creates this really pretty pattern. So pull this in. A lot of these weaves don't really have names to them, I guess. They're just, I kind of make them up. Some of them might, but this one I call the figure of 8 weave because that's kind of what we're doing. I'm making up my names. And as you can see, I'm pulling that right back because what we want to do is once we get to the other side, we want it to be completely closed off there. So I'm going to continue for a little bit longer. This one's going to be quite a short bail. You can make them longer, extend them out, but just make sure that where you're going to do your bend, you're going to keep going to there, and then you're going to taper back in again. So you can make them bigger if you want to. Ooh, that happens. We're going to push it all back down again. I pulled that a little bit too tight too soon, so I'm just going to pull it back out again a little bit. Keep going at that pace for a little while. And then I want it to close off. So I'm going to pull it tighter. And there we go. And what we want to do is take our set of pliers and find kind of the central point, and then we're going to bend it around there. I'm going to get these ones instead because they're thinner and I want it to be curved. Need to push this up a bit. See how we've made our little loop just like that, and it's fairly even on either side because we've done a nice big loop on it. And then I'm going to just wrap this around the bottom and snip it off here. And then what you'll find is, obviously, if you're making this and it's attached to a pendant, you're going to have all these extra wires, and all I generally do with them is twist them around the bottom and then cut them off at the point that I want them. And then all the extra bits that we have here, if I bring this back in, you can see I just create a kind of twist with it, or I twist it all the way around the bottom of the pendant. So that's your first bail using the figure-of-8 weave, which is a nice, quick and easy one. Looks really effective, really pretty. The next one I want to show you, I'm going to use a different coloured wire. I might use a copper wire this time, so I'm bringing in the copper wire, and I'm going to show you a different type of weave and just a different type of finish to our bail. So using the 20 gauge again, I'm going to cut off a couple of lengths, and I can show you this next one. Now I kind of made up the name of this weave myself, so it's kind of, what I use is a 2-3 or a 2-4 method, and what I'm going to do is explain that to you as we go along, so that it makes sense. So the reason I call it this is because I use 2 strands of wire like so, and again, we're imagining that we've got a pendant attached to this, and this is where I want to start my bail piece. So why I call this a 2-3 or a 2-4 is I do 2 wraps around the 2 wires, and then I choose how many I want to do. I can do 3, 4 or 5, but around just one single wire. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to do 4 for this one. So this is my 2-4 weave, and I do 4 around there, and then the copper wire, you'll notice, is much softer, so it actually kind of bends a lot more easily, but you want to try and make sure it stays really straight, otherwise it can look a bit messy. So I'm just going to bring these in and straighten up those pieces. Just keep an eye on that as you go, because you don't want it to look messy. So 2 around both again, and 4 around the one. Always keep it around the same one. So when you're doing your 4, you just do, I generally do the one closest to me. So I'm just going to continue that. With this one, we don't need to worry, we just need to do it a certain length, however big you want your bail to be, and then we can just split it, bend it in half. So let's continue that for a little while. Just making sure that I keep pushing it down with my fingers so it's really nice and neat. And we can bring in our flat-nosed pliers as well and just give it a little bit of a squash, down, just neatens it up, makes it look really nice. I'm going to keep doing that as I go. just going to make sure that this doesn't go flying off the reel again. So I have to get a little bit of a length and then just attach it to the top of the reel so that it doesn't all come off, because otherwise you can get in a complete tangle, which we really don't want to happen. So I'll carry on with this one. So I've got a little bend in this wire again, because this is just what copper is like. I'm just going to straighten it out and keep going. So again, it entirely depends on how big you want your bail to be, how big or small, for how far we go on this. And we are probably, I'm going to do it a little bit longer, but because I'm just showing you really how to do this, it doesn't matter how long I make it. So just keep going. This one is nice and straight. And pull that down. I'm going to get my flat nose pliers again, give it a little bit of a squeeze. And continue on just for a couple more, and then I'll show you. It's basically, once you've got this weave sorted, it's basically exactly the same method as I just showed you on the last one to finish it off. So a couple more. We don't want them to be too short. You've got to make sure that it's not too short so that you can't actually fit a chain or a necklace or a rope piece through it. But I think that's probably about long enough. I'll give it another squeeze. And then again, you're going to find your halfway point and you're just going to bend it over. And do your finishing touches. Cut that off. And again, whatever you want to do with these leftover pieces, wrap them around. You can cut it off at that point, or we can get our little round nose pliers and we can just do a little twist on it like this. But as you can see, that then finishes off your pendant quite nicely. So that's your next loop, just there. I'll bring this one in because that one was in antique bronze. See how I've decided to finish this one off with some swirls, and that's that pattern for you. So that's your second bail done there. Now I'm going to bring in one more colour. I think I'm going to try silver for this one, and I'll just show you this last bail, and it is literally just wrapping it around the length of the wire and finishing it off, but it still looks quite nice as well. It's a different way of finishing. So let's unwrap this, and wherever we're going to start, let's do it here. We are literally, this one's really quick and easy. We're literally just going to wrap, wrap, wrap. If you've got 3 or 4 pieces left at the end, you can do this around more than 2. It's totally up to you if you cut them off or you use them. But I want to make sure, because this one's so simple, you can actually see imperfections. So what we want to do is make sure that we are wrapping and pushing down so that there's no gaps. And then again, we get our flat pliers and we squish it down like that to create a nice flat surface. So I'm going to continue with that for a little while. So we can be quite quick with this one, because then we can use our fingers, push it down, and then carry on. Push it down again. Just keep pushing it down with our fingers. What we want to do is, now I've done a little bit more of that, I'm going to get my pliers again. I'm just going to keep flattening it down. This can twist out of shape a little bit. Let me untangle. I'm just going to cut this off because I know I don't need that much, so I'll just get that out of the way and continue to wrap. This one's probably the quickest one because we're just literally just wrapping it round, but as you can see, it looks quite effective when it's done. Keep going. Push that down again. Again, we just gauge the length that we want our bail to be. Oh, that's loud. With this one, check which side. Yep, it looks the best. So continue to wrap. I think that might be just about long enough. Let's see. Yeah, just to finish this off. So again, we're just going to take it halfway, bend it over like that, make sure we've got a nice loop, and then wrap around the bottom like this, just to make it sure that it's nice and tight and connected. And the same again, any of our little extra bits. This bit I'm going to wrap around the base like so. Get my little pliers. Like this, and then I can get my round ones, and again, like any ends of wire, either cut them off, tuck them away, or give them a little twirl. So there you go. That one was really quick, I think really effective. It looks like that in the antique bronze wire as well. So those are our 3 kind of simple bails at how we finish off our pendants, just in 3 different colours there, so it gives you an idea of what they look like in the different colours. And I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was helpful. There are plenty of other ways that you can finish off your pendants, but those are look really nice, effective ways of doing it. So if you enjoy what you're watching, please do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, as I upload a new video every week, and I really look forward to seeing your masterpieces if you fancy sending me a message and showing me what you've made. And I'll see you again soon.